Hello and welcome to Phil Goes Deep. We are back. We're live. And this is not a virtual background. This is not a virtual moustache. This is real life right now, live on the internet. And I'm very excited because I've been away for a while. And just to give a shout out for the Movember, this thing that's on my face is to raise awareness for men's mental health and physical health. So if you're a guy like me and you think something might be wrong, just talk to someone, speak to your doctor or a friend. And if you've got any friends that you think might not be okay, just ask twice. Just check in on them, make sure it's okay to talk. This is 26 days in the making. It's been dyed as well. It's not my natural colour, but it will be gone in about 5 days' time. So enjoy it while it lasts. And tonight or today, whatever time it is, wherever you are, we are going to be talking about Discode and Flow Designer. And I've got a very special guest with me. If you notice in the title, if you try and pronounce that phonetically, you might offend somebody. Don't pronounce it phonetically, whatever you do.
No.
And I've got I've got Mark Scott with me, and I need to I need to bring him in, but I've just got to switch over this self view hide thing, and I believe I don't. I've got it's been a while, right? Hold on, this is the one we're going to fade it in. Cut it across. Mark, you're live. You're live with us.
Hey,
Thanks for joining.
hi everybody. Hi, yeah. So thanks for the tee up there, Phil. Yeah, I'm Mark Scott. I'm the senior platform architect for Now Learning. If you haven't seen my channel, my YouTube channel, I'm just getting off the ground. Phil's been awesome with helping me with that. I'm very active on Twitter, Phoenix Dev. So let's just the elephant in the room here, Phil. It's Phoenix Dev. It's Phoenix PHX is the airport code. But yeah, if you have any questions as to why that is the way that it is, you can go check it out. I have an explainer on my YouTube. Happy to be here. Happy, excited to get into some Discode versus Advocate stuff. This is gonna be great.
Yeah, and I watched your explainer video, and it made I was like, okay, now I get it. Okay, it makes sense. So, if you read the video title for today, it's Phoenix it up, right? Nothing
Oh,
nothing
Phil,
else.
oh man. Okay. Yeah. All
So
right.
how did that start? Because when I looked at your videos or your channel, and hopefully I've
Yeah.
linked it in the description. How did that start? Because you've got some videos on there that I wasn't aware of. You've been doing some videos for a while, I think,
It's
and you've just kind of relaunched the channel.
yeah. So it was. I mean, really, you get into that kind of habit of I want to build something, I want to make something, but you don't really know what you want to do, right? And for me, that's kind of a huge issue. And I said, you know what, I want to do something. I want to do a podcast, but I don't want to do a podcast. I want to do a video, but I don't want to do a video. And so I'm like, you know what, just publish not perfect, and get it up there, get something going. And so I came up with a format that I kind of liked. And so no promises, but yeah, just wanted to kind of get it going again. And what you had looked at, Phil, was there had been some live streams that I'd done with Jason a few years ago. I had a couple of clips from some talks that I had done. I had actually recorded my Knowledge 19 presentation and put it up there. I don't know that you can record yourself at these conferences. Who knew? And throw it up on your YouTube channel. So that's what it was. None of it was organized in any way or fashion. So it was just kind of a smattering of things. And now I think I've got a more concrete idea of what I want to do. So, that kind of a format with my kind of branding and my name on it, and whatever I want to talk about, whatever I want to do, and whoever wants to come on or hop on, be a guest, let me know. We'll get it scheduled.
That sounds great, and I hope I've linked it in the description. If I haven't, and you're live and it's not there, just go to the main channel. I've got the other channels linked. You'll find Mark's channel. Just hashtag Phoenix Dev PHX DEV, and you'll find it for sure. And I'll make sure it's linked in there by the time this is. If you're watching it back on demand, if you are watching on demand, please don't vote. Because you will still be charged and your votes won't count. So I always like to put a disclaimer in there just in case we do vote for anything. So I'm not planning to, by the way. You look nervous when I said that. So
no, whenever someone says they're going to get charged, I'm like, oh no, like what did I do wrong? Like, don't touch that. Like I need an adult. Like,
exactly. So and thanks, Mark, because we already had a bit of a session earlier. Right, you come and joined the Rangu team and came in on one of our dev forums, and that was great. We talked about Flow Designer a little bit, talked about what you're doing at ServiceNow on the Now Learning side of things, which is a great platform for anyone that's into ServiceNow or just getting into ServiceNow. And you need to learn a bit more. Obviously, we've got the community and all the kind of peripheral things that go on around the community, like this, like your channel, like the sndevs.slack.com. There's the Discord. There's heaps of stuff. There's, LinkedIn, ashleysn.com. I mean, the list goes on. Developer.servicenow.com. But Now Learning is like the main library, the structured learning paths. I mean, it's amazing what you guys are doing.
Official one. It's the official one, at least.
Yeah, the official one. Exactly. Yeah, that's official.
Yeah, it's official. And what I think a lot of people don't realize is, everything that you're interacting with on Now Learning is coming from the platform, right? That is a service portal that we're building. That is an application that we're maintaining. It is a ServiceNow application, and we have upgrades. We all the same things that customers and partners are going through. That's exactly what we're going through, and that's exactly our experience. And so it's awesome to be able to say that, hey, I got beamed up by the mothership, but I still don't get to have back end, I still can't go tweak the things that I'm not supposed to. So I enjoy being able to kind of stand amongst the ranks and still say that, I'm in IT and I use ServiceNow as a product every day.
Yeah, it's great, man. And you do heaps as well. So the other thing that is worth mentioning is that you're also a Titan of Now. So there is, this is where I first kind of came across your name, and I was talking to someone recently about mid-servers, and I was like, man, mid-servers are amazing. I kind of played with them a little bit, like literally a tiny amount, and then I came across that video, and I was like, oh, yeah, actually, that makes a lot of sense. I just never thought of it that way. So again, I'll make sure that's linked in the description, because that talks, about how you got your start and all of the stuff that Rob talks about on there with you. So that's amazing, and congratulations for that as well. So we're gonna talk about Discode. We're not. We're gonna talk about Flow Designer complex objects and we're gonna try and use Discode to discover them. So maybe we should get into a shared screen.
Let's do it.
And I need to do something I need to make myself disappear off of Zoom, which, there we go, hide self view, and then switch it over, fade it in, and you're here. You're live, and we've got, we're down in the bottom channel, bottom right hand corner. So, yeah, enjoy that space. Let's try and occupy it. So, Discode, how much do you know about it already, Mark? I know we've had a quick chat.
I know. I mean, so I've done a little bit of research into your videos, right, and just kind of scrubbed through them. But I wouldn't call myself an expert at any means. So, give me the elevator pitch. I'd love to hear it, because I'm still trying to piece it together.
Yeah, so the elevator pitch, I mean, I'm not selling it. It's on Share, actually. If you go to the Share site, if you can find it, you go to Share and search for Discode. So, I mean, I like playing with words. I like language. Discode was kind of code discovery, and discode is like discover code conjugated. So, yeah, just squashed it up. Because, when I'm creating scoped apps, which I have created quite a few of them, and none of them have ever gone very far, but I'm always trying to play with that limited character set. And I want my scope prefix of my tables, of my roles, everything. I want it to just make sense. So it took me a while to arrive at that name, because other names were things like design review, because I was thinking, well, if I was going to be changing something on the platform, I need to understand it. I need to be able to do an impact analysis. I need to understand this application. And some of the early stuff, we mentioned mid-servers. The first time I worked with a mid-server was using a feed from BMC Atrium, which was doing discovery of the infrastructure. So all of those probes or whatever are out in the data center discovering things, and BMC does a pretty good job of identifying devices and applications and dependencies within those things, and it produces it in a CSV file. So one of my first kind of big development activities on the platform was just connecting that into the CMDB. And I remember I was working in change management at the time, and we'd get a change request. It says, I'm changing server, XYZ 101. And we go, okay, somebody on the approval list knows what that is. But from a change management perspective, we didn't really have a connected CMDB. And I remember the day we lit that up and connected it in, and I built the transform maps, and I took the relationships, and man, it painted this picture. And then when somebody said, I'm changing this server, I was like, that server there, that one that's connected to that, right, now we understand the risk. And the CMDB business service map is a great way to visualize stuff.
Beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And especially when you finally run, and service mapping is one of those things. It's a lot like CMDB discovery, right? You have to iterate. It's not going to be perfect the first time. You're going to have to go in and tweak and go in and change. And it takes a while to build that up. The most satisfying thing, I think, in the ServiceNow world is the last service mapping scan that you run that builds out that just beautiful chart where you're just everything's there. I've got network to everything. I can see downstream of everything. I can see upstream of everything. It's oh man, nothing feels better. Nothing feels better to finally have that kind of figured out. But yeah,
exactly. And so that, and everyone knows, I hope everyone knows. If you don't know, get to know, right? The CMDB in the ServiceNow platform is where all the value is going to. It's like a catalyst for value across the. If you think of ITSM, of course, CMDB is important, but you start plugging in all these other things, and the CMDB isn't necessarily, I don't think, necessarily just purely technical or purely physical. It's a configuration item. It's something is.
It describes configurations, right? So it's literally metadata. That's all. But if you could say CMDB, it's like a database of metadata, right? So it's it could describe whatever you want. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. You build the class out and you set the attributes and you say, this is what this is. This is how this is defined. And then you just fill it in. I love the CMDB because it is like that. I hate the CMDB because it is like that. There's so many tables. And there's so many little inheritance models and everything. It's crazy. So, it's a double-edged sword with that too, right? You can model anything. Do you want to, right? There's going to be so much modeling in there. So yeah.
I mean, the table. There's so many tables, but the other thing here with Discode, and you asked for an elevator pitch, and this is this is not the elevator pitch. I think the elevator pitch stopped at code discovery, and you can extend with the Madrid licensing model. CMDB tables are exempt, and this is, I think, in the spirit of that agreement, right? These are CIs. So what I've got in Discode is I've started with your obvious stuff, right? Tables, business rules, roles, script includes, and UI actions. So each of those, what I've got is I've got a kind of Discode CI extension that just extends from CMDB CI, Discode main one, and then I extend from that into all of my other classes, so I can put some common stuff into my first layer, but that's not really populated with anything directly. So we've got CI role, CI table, etc. So, I mean, look at this. This is
pause for just a second, Phil.
Pause.
I loved what you said. You said that there was a parent layer that had no attributes on it, and you didn't know if there was going to be attributes, right? So from the inception of this, you had built this with a parent layer that then had an inheritance structure that then went 1, 2, or 3 levels deep, knowing that at the very top, if you did all of a sudden think of something that needed to be done, you already had it at that level, and you didn't have to go and rebuild your entire data model to support that. And I want people to understand, but it was a one-off comment on your part, but I want people to understand how important that is. Even building a table or inheriting from a table that has no attributes still builds you a layer in that later you can go and add attributes if you need to.
Exactly that. So I call that, actually, it's CI application file. So CI application file is very much like application file, the sys metadata table, right? And that extends from configuration items. So I actually call it Discode, which is my scope name, CI metadata. Okay, so it's like sys metadata, CI metadata. And then if you look at, say, business rule, that extends from CI application file. So this is, if I want something common across, I can go and put it in there, and it's then available to consume from all of mine. So yeah, it was a design decision done early on, which I think is the right one that you can't do later. You can't retrofit that in.
Right. Once you've made that decision, you're stuck with that, as opposed to the way that you've built it, where you've built in some buffer where if you needed to put an attribute at every layer, you could do that. Even though right now, it looks like a waste of a table, it really isn't. It's kind of it's more of a placeholder, I guess you could say, right? It's a placeholder for what might come later in case you need it.
Exactly, and to be honest, to me, it doesn't look like a waste of a table. And yeah, I guess somebody else might go, why? But yeah, it's there for a reason. And on top of that, you could put some logic on there. You could put a business rule on that table, which then is available to all of my children. So yeah, that's a bit about the table structure. The fact that it could potentially live on a customer's production instance. And imagine if you're building applications on ServiceNow, or even you've got out of the box stuff, they could be, you do incident management on them, right? And you say, oh, what's broken? Well, it's that table, or I've got a request. It's the CMDB starts to still live within there. I don't know if this would ever end up on a customer's prod instance, and I'm not recommending that any customers out there put this into production just yet. It's very much in a beta phase, but the conceptually here, I think we've got something that's quite powerful. So we were talking before, actually, Mark, about inheritance and all this kind of abstraction layers within script includes. So I've got quite a bit of that going on here as well. I personally love it. But let's take a look. If I take this script include, right, core base, and I should basically be able to search for that as a CI, because I've already scanned this. I do think I've got a table in there. Now, if I look, I'm seeing a table relationship lookup, which wouldn't be exempt. So I think I've added something since there. Yeah, look at this. Core base is extended into core, but core is extended into my scanner base. I've got a UI action helper as well. I've got a scan engine. Okay, so I think this will extend more if I show more, load more. Yep. Yeah, load more. So what I've actually got is this kind of concept of scanners being almost like a strategy pattern. Now, I don't want to offend anyone that knows this stuff properly. Like, I've got a book, but I'm I'm not claiming to be an expert here, but the
And it's
concept,
hard to retain. It's not easy stuff. Yeah.
but the concept here is almost like a strategy pattern. So, and I know I've got some of it wrong. I know I've got some stuff that's like built in reverse. It doesn't actually make sense because what we're doing here, and it doesn't jump too far either. What we effectively do, we pass in the scope name. Let's look at some of the properties that we've got here. So we pass in, that's a default. So comma separated list of sys scope names. So if I've got Flow Designer running regularly, scanning everything by these scopes. Okay, so it scans the scopes. Now, when it scans those scopes, it then also scans these tables within them. And if you look, sysdb object is my table. Syscript is business rule. Script include, obviously, UI action and user role. So I'm scanning those tables for those scopes. So I say, go and get me all the tables that exist. And I scan those tables.
Sure.
Those then exist as CIs.
Right.
Then I go and get the business rules on those tables. So it's very much like if I was going through the process and saying, well, I would like to know, I don't understand how this thing's built. I need to know how this thing's built. So what I would do, my kind of default position there is I'll go to the table name. I'm just going to pick on a table that I love, SN compliance control. I would say .config. Okay, so .config is effectively what I'm doing here. I'm passing in the table. From the table, I go and get all of its related things. So I get its business rules. Now, those business rules are quite possibly calling. Okay, that one, I don't think so I'm not saying business rule. I don't lint this at all. I mean, if you look at the linter in Instant Scan, you would be able to understand that you've done a query, so you're doing a read and an insert. It would be possible, and I think we can find this stuff out. Like we could say, well, you know what, this business rule actually inserts over on that table as well. I mean, that's something that I would really like to be able to do, is understand this table gets its data from these places.
It's like a service map between the tables based on what we see the inserts being. Yeah,
exactly. On this, I'm not going to this level yet, so I'm not looking at glide records. But if I do make a call to there, so that potentially that script include. Let's see if this has worked or not. So if I go to that script include, have we shown up? No. Okay, so that one hasn't been found yet, but potentially we would see this business rule calls that script include.
Can you pull your screen up, Phil? I'm not.
Is it too low?
Yeah, I'm not seeing.
Oh, do you know what it is? Mark, I realised on Zoom, which we're talking over Zoom here. I'm not sharing my screen to you, am I?
No, but I'm not sure that I'm seeing it on the.
Are you watching it on YouTube with a slight delay? Oh
yeah.
Man, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I just I wanted to make sure that.
Oh, that's amazing! I can't believe I've done that. Okay, so how?
I thought maybe they were seeing it because through OBS, but then I scrubbed through a few. I'm like, I'm not seeing it at all, so I'm not sure.
That's my bad. Let's see if I don't know. Can I share my screen, or will that break there? Now I get it. Right. Okay. So I don't need you. I do need you, Mark. I don't need you. I don't need you here.
Yeah. No, it's good.
Take you out there, and I believe we fade you in, and then put you down. Can I put you there? Man, you're looking a little bit small. I've sized you out. Hold on.
I think we're good. Oh no, I see what happened now. Okay.
Right, hold on. Fade you down. This is what live streaming is all about when you're dealing with professionals like myself. So, can you see my screen now?
Yeah, I can see it, and you know what? You were right. It was on the stream, but I couldn't see it before. I can now. But this is great. This is smashing. I love this.
Excellent. I told you, man. It's been a while.
Oh,
Drew had a question in the chat. And I've completely missed the whole conversation beforehand. I think it's, let's just shout. Let's just give everyone a bit of a shout out. Shout out to Drew. Shout out to Jay. Shout out to Bala. Thanks for tuning in, Bala. Great to see you, man. Upside Down Andrew.
Yeah.
Where are you, man? Went out for a meal. Went missing. No,
shout out to, you start shouting him out and he just goes away.
Yeah. Like, oh. Shout out to Ola. Ola to Ola. Nice to have you on tonight. Thank you. I didn't miss Jace, did I? Shout Jace out, of course.
I mean, Jace is kind of implied. He's on every live stream. Every ServiceNow live stream has Jace on it.
I mean, yeah, it's implied, but it's great. Some of my earliest channel views came from Jace's website, jace.pro. I was looking at the analytics, and I was like, Jace is linking to my stuff, man. I didn't know Jay. I don't think I'd ever actually spoken to him at that point. What a cool guy! What an absolutely cool guy.
Yeah, just makes stuff for no reason. Like, yeah, here's this news aggregator that is going to become like the lifeblood of the ServiceNow community. Like, yeah, for free, whatever.
Yeah, when I was talking about all those peripheral things, and I didn't shout out Jace.pro at that point. But if you want to find ServiceNow content, don't go looking for it. Go to Jace.pro, and you will find all the stuff that is being aggregated that's out on the internet. I mean, yeah, for no reason. Loads of reasons in there, man.
Well, no, I mean, it was for his own reasons, but it was like, look at this thing I built. Yeah, for no reason. Sorry, Jace. I didn't mean it was for no reason. I meant more like, yeah, it was like, yeah, all right, I'll just build this thing. Like, it was nonchalant. I was there when you built it. You're like, meh, I'll just build this thing. It'll be all right. Like,
I would say it's probably Jace is probably one of the most altruistic people in the community that builds things for no direct benefit for himself, and it just benefits everyone. I think that's what I was hearing when you said for no reason.
Yeah.
But anyway, I know you weren't trying to upset anyone, and
our words. Yeah.
So, Drew had a question, and that's where I was getting to. Can we use it for debugging? I mean, you can use everything for debugging, man. When you're debugging something, like, use everything you've got available.
Here's what I would say is there's a lot of times where, like, you just don't know. I mean, you go through business rules, but you just don't know, how prolific that business rule is on that, either through the table, or if it touches multiple places, or if it's just run, I don't know, differently than what you're seeing in the view. Like, I would love this thing to be able to go and scan and have a list of all my business rules where I'm like, hey, if you're going to go touch that table, you need to go make sure that you're, you're running QE on all of those business rules, right? Every single one of them. Like, it goes into my use case or my test case, right, that I assigned to my QE. Like, yeah, of course. Like, you got to go test all of these things. I think my QE team would love it.
Yeah, and what you said there about if you're going to go and touch this thing, that was kind of where this idea started from for me. It was, I'm going to go and touch this thing, but what does that mean? So if you didn't have this or something like it, what are your options? You've got to go to the table.config, look at it. Now, what I've been doing, a new app comes out, or new version comes out. I just scan it and then go, what? I didn't know that was in there. I want to see here assessment engine. I'm wondering whether something's not quite perfect. We've had last time I checked had about 13 downloads. So look, assessment engine there. So assessment engine is, you can see now, is getting called by these business rules. So if you were going to go and change this script include, guess what? You've got all these things hanging off of it. Yeah. So, that's where I like to do this sometimes, just for, try and find a view that makes sense.
Yeah.
There are some things that I've scanned and gone, whoa, like, that's just very heavy, and obviously the more you add into it, the kind of harder it is to see. And I know there are some things that you can do on the left to filter and build views and so on. There we go, that's coming now. SNGRC item table. I mean, you start to see all this stuff, but you see like 20 here, so it's telling you there's 20 business rules. I'm not going to show you them unless you need to. I've also got different types of relationships in here. So you can see this table extends to this table. So all of this logic, all of those 20 business rules there are probably available and running or potentially running here. Plus the UI actions. And then you can see also the roles. So this role inherits or extends all of these roles, but that role there can access, can delete, can create as well. So I've got the ACLs built in, so I can see that user role, and that gives us another.
Like if you want to answer Drew's question here.
Oh,
like,
okay. What was his question? Can you use
Drew's
it for debugging?
Like, there's an ACL debugger right there. Like, I don't know of anywhere else where I've seen an ACL. Like, I mean, I'm not saying it's an ACL. It is technically an ACL from all of the information that you've got there, right? It's how is the access controls granted on this table, but this tells me exactly where all of this stuff came from and why, what inherited what role, and how, what grants what, right, on this table. Like, that's huge for debugging. I mean, that to me, I'm like, yeah, like that would be amazing to be able to spit out.
It gives you a visual. That's the main thing. It doesn't give you I don't think it gives you the detail, but
right.
I can spend quite a bit of time in this view. You just saw it there. It did hang a little bit, so I don't know if it's because it's too heavy or if it's, the PDR. If I might have some crazy relationships going on, but yeah, I mean, look at that. You start zooming out. S&GRC admin is
huge.
Extends into here, but then that person there has got kind of. Well, not that person, but that people with that role have got all of this permission. So I think we've framed the concept of this thing.
Yeah, this is great.
And kind of how we do it is still a little bit in the kind of realms of the obscure. I'm going to see if I can connect hopefully my VS Code is connected.
Hey, while you're doing that, I'm going to give you an update on chat here. So,
yeah, please.
Drew says that he's going to download the app just from this conversation. You've converted him, by the way. Andrew, Upside Down Andrew, says his instance is 10 years old and they have 400 plus custom tables. This would be so useful for them.
Just on that, it's 10 years old. I'm guessing that a lot of those tables are in global.
Oh, I mean, come on, Phil. Like, back in the day, all your tables were in global, right? Like, unless you've come full circle into the altar of scoped applications, it's all in the wild, wild west up there. Yeah, I'd be very concerned about that. Maybe Andrew will chime in with if all of his tables are in global or not.
I think a good 80% of I would guess. So, caveat.
He just says yes.
Yes, everything's global. It's got 2 scope tables.
You don't have to worry about cross-scope privileges. They're all global. Oh,
so, it doesn't, I don't think, handle global very well at the moment. I'm not sure if I've just been scared to let it loose on global, because this is always the problem with discovery. We were talking there earlier about your standard discovery. The normal result of your first few scans is noise.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just pure noise.
Yeah.
And then you tune it.
It's either complete noise or utter silence, right? It's like you got nothing. Like, nothing came back.
White noise.
Yeah. The opposite of noise is white noise. All right, I like it.
I don't know if that's true.
I don't know if it is either.
But yeah, I'm a bit worried if you let this thing loose on global, and it doesn't at the moment. It doesn't do hops really. It's quite linear. It's
turn it on, let it go. Yeah,
you give it the table, and it then finds all the things related to the table. Obviously, script includes don't have a direct relationship to a table, so they come in from a different angle. So this is where I've got. I'm going to see if I'm in my Hacktoberfest workspace there. Let me see if I've got.
Jace is asking, you could theoretically run it on global, right? You just haven't. And I think the answer to that is yes,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
fear of we don't like it might start running and never come back. Like
Exactly. Exactly. So, I don't know where my it's it's been such a long time since I did a stream on, and when I stream um I use a different account so that I don't see any, none of my work stuff's on here. I don't know I don't know where it is. I was hoping to pull it up on VS Code. It shouldn't be too difficult, should it, for me to connect to my instance using.
famous last words
Oh,
on
it
that
shouldn't.
one.
What? It shouldn't be too difficult.
Yeah,
so,
famous last words.
so what do we
Um,
do? Go on. Go
but
on.
yeah,
So I interrupted you.
no, no, no. I would assume, as someone that has worked in the CMDB a lot and has written an application that goes through and pulls a lot of things back out, there's a lot of recursion. There's a lot of recursion. Like there has to be. It's just the nature of what you're doing. And so, you end up with a table that references a table that happens to reference the first table, and there's some weird loop in there. Like I understand your hesitancy. I could see that.
Yeah, but to Jace's point, you could do it. I just haven't, and I am a bit scared of it. So if Andrew's saying, "Oh, that will solve all my problems," it probably won't. It might create more confusion. I don't know. I mean, for all if you've got a spare instance there, like I don't know your stack. If you've got a sandbox or somewhere that you can install something and it's not going to conflate what you're doing, by
Yeah.
all means, give it a go, man. I mean, I don't think. What do you say, safe harbor or just
It's on
pure
share.
like disclaimer?
Yeah.
I,
It's
I,
on you, my friend. Like, yeah,
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 try
run it
it,
in depth,
man.
like for sure. But yeah,
Put it in your PDI first. See what it's doing. Have a look at it and see if you feel comfortable using that. I'm
won't
just
even start a dev instance. He makes no. Yeah, yeah. Andrew says he never said it would solve a problem. He just
yeah, fair enough.
fair enough.
Right.
Fair enough. He did say that run it on global and unlock the secrets of the universe, but Drew did mention the doors of hell, which I think might be closer to what, yeah. But yeah, it's on. I mean, it's on share, so it's not like, I mean, you guys are asking these what if questions. It's like go download it and try it out.
Ex-
Report back and tell us what happened.
exactly that. So look, I've connected it. So I'm just going to import. I said it's not that difficult. Look, I select Discode in here. I just did my authentication off screen. Um, I know on live coding happy hour you have like a privacy
Sorry.
bush and so on, but
I was trying to do a little, tap song and dance, and it's on share. Go download it, kind of a filler. Jace wants to know, how long does a scan normally take? So I would assume on like a brand new PDI with demo data installed, how long does it usually take?
I mean, yeah, it depends, right? That's only going to get longer the more things we scan into it. But if you go to I was going to say hashtag, no, /command FD, right? Shout to Arnold, another guy that's out there making everyone's life a little bit
Oh
easier.
my gosh, for free. He's that man alone. That man alone has probably saved hundreds of thousands of hours. The the ServiceNow ecosystem, definitely owes him a paycheck or two. Because man, that has made my life so much easier. Big shout out to our dude there. Yeah.
Excellent. So scan all applications is a flow. That's going to go to my property and scan all applications. I don't know if I set up subflows. Yeah, scan all applications. So that subflow is consumed in the main flow, but in the actions, you've got scan application. Okay, so in here,
Wow. So you've got it down. You've got it down to a single action that will just go and scan an entire application scope. That's pretty cool.
exactly. So if I say test this now, and it does it. So how long does a scan take? How big's your application? You don't know
Yeah.
till you scan it. So, um, if you it depends what you're scanning as well, right? So I, at the moment in those properties, I say kind of 6 tables, I think, off the top of my head. Um, you could change those tables. You could add more. We could add more scanners. So this is built intending to be kind of extensible. So if you look at what we've got here in terms of script includes, right? Obviously, just take the base as the main one. This is just a structure that I do like.
You just scan global right now.
Oh, we could try it.
No, no, no,
We
don't
could
do
try
it.
it. Let's do it.
Do it.
Application name
Oh
global. Well,
no.
don't do it.
You guys
Run
did
test
it.
in background
No.
or run it in the
I'm gonna lock
foreground.
his
Run it in the
head.
background, I think.
He'll
It's
never
going.
come back. Oh no, he did it. Wait.
Test is finished running. Yeah, okay. There is a property, isn't there, that allows you to see this in more detail while it's still going, or
I don't know. I've not seen that global stress test. That's weird. Yeah, I usually don't see that. Maybe I haven't been running in the right.
maybe your flows don't take as long. They finish.
Maybe. Yeah, yeah. Oh, but you did run it as background. I see what's happened. Okay, so you did run it as background, so
Yeah.
it's just kind of. Yeah, I don't usually run my flows as background. I don't usually have a reason to. I haven't been doing a whole lot of heavy lifting recently.
So I mean that's running in the background. So what you can do here, if you go to kind of Discode, in the, I feel like this is somehow killing my instance. Let's just go back to the main. Yeah, it was there. Okay.
That scan of global is somehow killing your instance.
I feel like the business service map just isn't that friendly with my browser at the moment. I'm not sure, but if I go into actually, I'll tell you what I want. I want that main table. So in the studio, I told you CI application file. If I take this table and just do a list on it,
Mm-hmm.
we see there 33493, and then if I just refresh it, it's gone up. So you know something's
like
happening.
200 records. Oh man.
Yeah, something's happening. So you know, that's kind of how I monitor background flows. That is anything happening? Yeah.
Yeah. The record count's changing. Yeah. You know what? My favorite is the that moment of like, oh no, when like you're running a script in background and you know that it shouldn't take as long as it is, and you're doing something you probably shouldn't be doing, and you're like, and then you kind of figure out what your script problem. And you're like, no, 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 no. It's like you try to cancel it. It's like the damage is already done.
I mean,
it's like would it just that when that spinner comes up and I'm like, that shouldn't. It was 36 records. It should have updated. Why is it spinning?
in TSQL days, you know, begin tran was like embedded into just anything. Even if I was just doing a select all, right, I would still begin tran just to make sure, just in case.
Yeah, I used to tell a joke. A mid-level developer will begin tran, and a senior level developer knows to end transaction. Because that's someone that's done it and walked away and locked the whole database. I've done that.
Guilty. So I mean, we were talking about people in the community and shouting them out. I mean, we've got to shout out James Neal. He's been on the show as well. Explore. It gives you the cancel button. I mean, I know you can go into the background and find your transaction and so on, but having it kind of there and seeing the timer, if things do seem like they're taking a little bit too long, you can cancel them. But I do then worry.
I mean, it's too late.
It's
by
too
the
late.
way.
Yeah,
you can limit the damage.
Makes you feel better. Yeah, you're gonna get hot. Yeah, I don't know if it's better to cancel or not.
You better hope you audited those tables. I'm telling you. Like...
This is still going up. Bala says. Bala says we can. By the time this finishes, basically, we could do a whole ServiceNow training. So. How many hours of content are on Now Learning?
I don't know. It's going to be it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot. There's There's a lot, and there's more than even I knew, right? Because they're constantly changing things and putting more content on. And so I was talking about a specific need that I thought needed to be fulfilled, and someone was like, have you seen this video? And I'm like, and it was the person I was talking to was in the video. It was David Giamona, who I think people have seen on Twitter and stuff, but he was actually in the video explaining exactly what I was saying. We should really do a video that does this. And he's like, have you seen this one? And I'm like, oh. Like, so they're always, I mean, there's a whole team. I mean, there's teams of people putting stuff up. It's crazy.
And maintaining it right with each
Yeah.
biannual release. It's so Jace asked a question in global. At the moment, we've got 1,404 tables. Now, some of these might have been there before because if it finds something, it does create the CI for the thing it's found. It doesn't then. It's not like a spider. It doesn't keep going out. It kind of limits itself. Like when I said it's linear, it will kind of just go in one direction and stop. But I know other discovery probes are kind of like, oh, I've got here. What else have I got? And then it just keeps going out. And you mentioned the recursion. It's not doing much of that, right? So it's not that clever in the scan engine side of things.
Sure.
In terms of how it's built, we'll let that run for a little bit. The good news is it's running in the background, so we can still do things on the instance. But we've got this core base. This is where I define a load of constants, and then I can access those constants, things like properties, table names. I can access them. I don't know if anyone's ever built a scoped app before and then wanted to change their scope name.
Yeah, like every person on Earth. Yeah.
So I've done that, and I've been burnt. So what I try and avoid doing is hard coding my table names into my glide records. So I actually access my glide record through my constants, and then if I want to change them, I change them here. Guess what? If you change scope, it's possible to change your scope and just kind of leverage your code. You just change it here. So that's kind of what's going on. We've got
Well,
this.
that's good. That's a good. Anytime I define a hard-coded string in my script, I tend to make it a constant, right?
Mm,
And it needs to be defined up at the top, or at the very least, if it's not defined up at the top, it needs to be defined in a sys property or something that's easy to pull back in. Because yeah, it's not fun to have to go and do a full text search of the platform for every instance of this dot whatever and go
yeah,
and
and
chain.
you're going to find some search criteria that fall slightly outside of that, and if you try and do a replace all, you'll break stuff, and then you'll never recover. Uh, from experience, anyway. I mean, maybe I was doing Control and F wrong, but yeah, this
It gets
is
to be an art form after a while. Yeah.
searching is a skill.
Yeah.
So the problem with property names, Mark, is what do you call them and how? Naming conventions for me, one bit of advice I received quite recently, and I think I'd kind of done it sometimes, go macro to micro if you in doubt, if you don't have any other options. So that might mean that you see weird column names like name underscore first and name underscore last. And
Right.
it's a bit jarring when you do it the first time, but then after that, actually, it kind of it pays off.
Makes a
Um,
lot of sense. Yeah. And especially, and to your point in scoping, right? When you make the scope, understand that you're going to be stuck with that scope. So if you're going to call it this, as long as it lets you call it, like you're going to have to call that every single time you need to call the API properly. Like very similar, like make sure your scope names work out. So, your table name, scope dot table makes sense. It needs to make sense.
yeah,
Like it should read fluently. I'm not going to say English. It should read fluently. It should make sense.
yeah, and call it what it is.
Right.
You know, be verbose and be explicit. Call it what it is, and use singular table names.
Always singular.
If
Yeah.
you can, what would a single record on this table be called, and that's your name for the table.
Yeah.
Um,
And because again, as someone that's gotten burned, when you call it with you add it's plural with an S at the end, the system will sometimes try to add IES or S at the end
hmm.
because it thinks it's going to pluralize it for you anyway. And it's like,
Again.
oh man, like I should, the system's telling you what you should be doing, and it should be singular.
So getting some questions coming in here about numbers, right? So I've got two at the moment on there. We had 2608. It's still going up. 3036 tables in global, and in here, how many tables have we actually got in global? I've never asked that question before. So
You can find out very easily.
sys_properties. I mean, it's one of them that pains me. But I also enjoy it. It's one of those kind of nice pains, if you know what I mean. I think Eminem had a lyric about it.
It's
see how
it's
much
one
you
of those
bleed.
weird, yeah, it's one of those weird things where like you've been around long enough where you're like, yeah, I
Yeah,
know. We say singular, and then we're like, but what about that one? It's like you don't touch that one. Like don't even go there. Like
that's not
don't
that.
worry.
Yeah, don't do it like that. But it's fine. Like I've got plenty of those mistakes. Like if I think I heard this from AJB, like Andrew Barnes. Shout out to Andrew. I don't know if he's got it from if this is his words, but I can hear it in his voice when these words are spoken. It's like, be kind to your future self.
Yeah.
So what you've done in the past might be wrong, and you can't really go back and correct those things. You can just learn from them, and next time do it in a way that's better for you next time, that you'll appreciate yourself later. So be kind to your future self, and things like sys_properties. I mean, I don't know who created that table, but I'm sure they know who they are.
Well, if it's the team I think it is, they got their stock, they cashed out. It's like, yeah, well, like they made their product, right? It wasn't perfect, published not perfect. So
exactly, and I'm not hating on them. So right, what we've got here, this to me is something that looks like it's probably errored. It's probably crashed out. I don't know, but it's kind of peaked at 3061, and we've got 4152 total. So we've got tables 4152 and here 3061, and it's not going up anymore. So to me, that's a bit of a clue that maybe things just crashed out.
okay,
That's what I'm guessing.
why crashed as opposed to finished?
Oh, why did it not error gracefully? Have you mean
No. I mean, why is it not?
error
Why do you
handling's in the future? Is
successful?
error
Perhaps
handling's
it's
on the roadmap?
no. I would never ask a developer why isn't there no air handling in this. That's evil. That's mean. No, what I was saying was, be positive. Maybe it's finished.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah. I'm cynical, man. Especially from debugging perspective, I'm a cynical guy. Testing everything, I'm negative. Like I'm trying to find things wrong. I expect if I go and check, is it syslog or is it syslogs? I'm not sure.
I've never actually typed it. I've always typed log and then
I
scrolled.
think it's syslogs.filter. No, it's neither of them. It's do you know what it is? It's one word. Syslog.filter.
Talk about naming conventions.
Hey. I love it, man. I love all this stuff. If you watch that, have you seen the video with Chuck, David Lou, Bo, and the lady from the service desk? I've forgotten her name, but they went back, man. And didn't they have a 2012 instance, or am I? No,
Yeah,
they did a 2012.
Yeah.
They did a 2012 live coding happy hour, but then at Knowledge they did a chat with the kind of
like a fireside chat, I think it was. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Man, I love some of that stuff. So right, let's just have a look. Oh, I clicked it all. Damn it! Says it scans finished. Okay,
See, I told you, Phil. Like, come on.
I've put some pretty okay
This isn't bad. It tells me what it does.
stuff in here. So when was this? 2 minutes ago. Scan finished. Interesting that it didn't find all of the. I think this is scanning application file name. Why is it file name?
It did it in.
I don't feel like that's sufficient to say that it was successful. Let's just pick on one of these tables, man, and just,
Yeah, let's just
if
look
we,
at what
because it's a CI, if I open it in the form,
task. That's the one I really want to see is task.
oh, that's probably where it broke. But yeah, I mean, look, it found some relationship. So, from here, from viewing it in the menu and that CI record,
That looks
it
solid.
links here to base sys metadata, which is the original file. Oh, and that's another thing from an extension point of view. You can make a reference field to the parent table. You'll see it like in task incident parent will probably be task, but there'll be a reference qualifier that says I want to be the same class name, etc. So here I just um, uh, link to sys metadata. Reference to there. So it could be any application file that will point to it. If it's a script field, then if it's a business rule, I actually capture the script as well.
Okay.
You know what I've realised, Mark? In the hour that we've kind of been on,
Yeah.
we're probably not going to crack open a complex object in that hour. I mean,
I'm okay. I'm okay with that.
yeah. Look at this script here, right? So it actually captures the script. I was trying to do some stuff like baseline differences as well. I was trying to use the CMDB's baseline thing so you can actually track the changes to your,
Comparisons, yeah.
over time and go, well, hold on a minute. I had an incident here. Everyone started complaining about that on this day, but guess what? We can see on that day that CI changed
Yeah.
and go back over time.
Right.
So the funny thing is, if you've got some bad script, this starts showing up in instant scan. I found stuff in my like CI table because that's a script field. New
Right.
glide checksum.
I
I've never
wonder,
even seen that before. New glide checksum.
but then using like health scan, could you correlate that this bad incident, or I'm sorry, this incident that this user said this went down with this change? Now, I mean, that's getting pretty specific. Like you'd have to know, I mean, you to be able to correlate, from a user's like, hey, this stopped working. I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know.
some of the other what you're throwing in there, I think, is great because you're bringing together the power of the platform. And why couldn't you? Why wouldn't you do that? Because the scans have scans, findings, checks, all join up based on a target, and the target
Right.
is a document ID. So if your target is this here, then you could potentially correlate here your findings related to that target object. You could see here the findings on that thing. You could initiate a scan from this.
Yeah.
The other thing that we talked about as well was kind of knocking around this idea. It's been something that's been going on for a few months and it's not had any activity for a while. But some of the things we talked about were like understanding the risk of an object, like understanding that this thing here, just don't touch it.
Yeah. Every time we touch it, it's got a 50% fail rate or something like that. Yeah.
It's just gonna cause pain.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, let's take. I don't know how long we want to go. Just looking at the chat. Do the other tables are in other scopes? Incidents on scripts CIs is
Yeah.
cool. I don't remember the exact. There is one table called. Sorry, I wasn't following the chat at the time. So what this does, we've got an object table map as well. So it says from here, look, no scan equals true. So we don't scan that table.
Right.
Syscript include is stored. So this is our target table in the instance. This is what is represented in this code, and this is the field map. So what we do, we take the name field from there and put it in here. Oh no, sorry, name field from there and put it in the name field there. So this is our map. So this becomes extensible as well. If we want to start pulling data from our target, like here, condition. We pull condition in for UI action. We also scan conditions as well, because if you've got a script include or a business rule, not a script include, sorry, a UI action or a business rule that is calling a script include from a condition field, that dependency should be known. So I've got a relationship for filters by.
Wow. Okay. I never would have thought of that. That's next level. Wow.
So here's my scan engine base. So we've talked a few times, Mark, about Flow Designer and how to consume your application from Flow Designer. How do you kind of publish those endpoints? So what I've got here is my public methods, right? You can see they're not denoted with a prefixed underscore. That makes them public, even though you can publicly access anything else if you want. But I've got a method, the action, scan all applications, scan application.
Right.
So that takes obviously a parameter that's enforced through Flow Designer. This will scan an application file, and we pass in a glide record of the file there. It basically takes scan applications. So scan all applications will look up my property, get application list, get source applications. That looks up the property. For each of those applications, get the scope name, then scan the application. I call it public method just so that if it's overridden for some reason, you can call it.
Yep, if you're using public methods, your user should be using public methods. Yep.
So that's going back in. This takes the application name. I wrap that in a try. So I've got one try catch across the whole thing because this is where the danger zone is. You can see their log scan. So I've got a method for actually publishing out the logs. In the properties, we actually set verbosity and so on. So you see that level there, 1.
Yep.
That level 1 is like this message is a level 1 message.
Right.
Then look there, that's a 0. So that's always going to get. You can't not have that one. But this one is like only if you've got your levels turned on to 1, and you can then enhance your error logging or just your general logging in here. Scan application file. So does that get called? Scan application there, scan file. That looks like the wrong name. Have I got a scan file? Have I changed my function name and not? Now look, scan file there. Okay, so that takes the file specifically, gets the source scanner. Get source scanner is now my strategy. It's like if you look in other things, get strategy. It returns here var. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here. So
it's a factory pattern. Yep, I see it.
But
yep.
I'm passing in new, and I'm actually instantiating using the name of the API.
The type of
new there, because that's the object scope level, and it's rather than new disco dot. I'm using the brackets to pass in the
object on the other side.
And I'm quite happy with that, to be honest.
Awesome. No, I love that. That's a really cool. That's a great implementation.
So that returns the API. So when I say get source scanner down here, and I think all we'll do, Mark, just for time, is frame the problem maybe for another time.
Sure.
Get source scanner gets me my API scan, and then I do API scan run. So what would my source scanner be? Well, if it's a certain type or a certain type, then, so if it's a business rule, this is going to be the scanner that I'll get back to scan that file. If it's a script include, this is what I'll get. So this is where it gets a bit messy, because I don't think I'm consistently saying I'm here and I'm going from here to there. Like sometimes I'm taking the thing I'm into and trying to work backwards, and sometimes I'm trying to work forwards, and I don't think I've got that sussed out in my head yet.
Okay.
But it basically, it's a bit, this is where it gets a bit weak, I would say. This is where my actual scanning capability really needs to be improved, because I'm just doing some hard-coded strings. I mean, look here, new, and then looking for brackets. But what if you're actually that should actually be here, right? Because if I've got a bracket, but what if I've got a space and so on? I don't take account of that. And you can't search by regex, right? You've got regex, you have to have the string and then test it against your pattern.
Yeah, you can't do it in reverse. Yeah.
You can't say get me all the things that match the pattern. I don't think.
Well, I mean, you could read the entire blob of text in and then do a regex match on everything that. I mean, you drop out every. I don't know regex well enough.
No, and I don't think it'd be very performant.
Yeah, well, first of all, you're doing a string search, so it's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
It's performance for regex is just
So this is where I know the application can definitely be improved. So that what I need to have is consistency in terms of what comes in and what comes out.
Mhm.
101 stuff for functions, right? But this ability here to have like scan script include, scan table, scan or scanner, right? That gives us the ability to add in more and more, and then like we would scan flow designer objects. So I think if you look at a flow designer object, you've got something called in tables.
Mm-hmm.
Tables. I should look at this in Discode, really, shouldn't I? Complex. Let's just see if that has. Let's just see if that has come up at all. Just curious.
In your Discode scans.
Yeah, let's just see if that was one of the tables that got scanned and if it gave us anything in there.
Neat if it is.
I mean, I'm not expecting. We've got the table. Okay, so we just see that it extends. It's not connected to any logic. But if you look at that table dot list, it's just a bunch of. It's a bunch of JSON, which could be your action. So I think in did that finish? Did that error? Oh, look at that. Cannot find function get message in object type. Okay, told you it errored, man. Why didn't you believe me? Stack Overflow.
Ooh, a Stack Overflow error. Nice.
So yeah, I mean, there we go. We tested global. I think this is a complex object.
Are you happy, you jackals? Like we tested it.
They were cheering us on.
Yeah, I know. They really pushed.
So I think in Flow Designer, that's like a complex object. That's these things are complex objects.
Each I don't know, entity would you call it? Right. Each entity exists as a complex object within a Flow Designer flow.
Yeah, I think so. And so this stuff here, JSON, is I've had a little look at this stuff before. Like basically, I took some objects that I felt familiar with, and I just did a JSON parse and looked at it as an actual object.
Right.
So I think it is possible for us to kind of crack these open in some way and know, because take case in point, Flow Designer here, scan application, guess what? Run scan. What's it doing? New scan engine.
Right.
So I should know that script include is being called by these flows. These actions, and these actions belong to these subflows, and these subflows belong to these flows, and these flows are actually getting invoked from a UI action on that table. Like that bit is missing from Discode right now. So that was what I wanted to try and solve today, Mark. But we've shot the breeze. Is there anything you want to see on here? I'm just mindful of time, man. Anything you want to see on here before we zoom back to an outro?
I mean, Phil, we've covered so much stuff. Like, I actually, could we flip back to your script include there, especially like even your base script include, because I wanted to point out, I wanted to say how I absolutely 100% appreciate your coding style, and I want to point a couple of things out that I don't think a lot of people are probably looking at when they're looking at this screen, right? Each one of these functions, be it private or public, are actually listed alphabetically, right? I can see that.
Are
right?
they?
It's like
that's not that's not intentional.
Oh, really?
It's not. No, look.
Okay.
We broke that.
All right, so there's a coding style that I like. I actually like to put my functions in alphabetical order, and I thought they were as I was reading through them. It looked good.
I was like, wow, have I done that without even realizing it, man?
It's my last step. So it tends to be my last step. After I've written my code, I go and move it around and make it look pretty so that nobody yells at me. But yeah, I like that. I like the fact that you've got to-dos listed here. You've got some comments listed here. your structure and your style is the SN docs style that I can pull out on some of them. I've seen some of them have it, right? But I understand this is a labor of love, so I don't want anybody to look at this too closely. But there's a lot of good things that and I love our talk about your constants and how you actually set your constants here.
Is this what you mean, SN docs thing? This is JS doc, right? Is this what you were referring to? These, yeah.
Doc standard is SN doc standard. Yep.
Yes, because and in VS Code, this is the beauty of it, right? It's self-documenting there.
Yep.
So
but what I want to point out is this is your labor of love code, right? Like this is just something that you're putting time into, and you will see value out of it. But as of right now, you're not getting value out of it. But the fact that you've kept yourself so clean and you've thought about your implementation and you've architected before, you thought about it and architected it before you started writing code, right? That's huge. That's big. That's something that I want people to really understand is like I can tell you've put a lot of thought into how this is going to work, and to see it work with that factory pattern. I call it a factory pattern. I don't know what other people call it, but
yeah, I don't. This is why I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm if I start naming things, I'm gonna get it wrong. I say strategy because that's where I've seen a strategy thing, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna call it that. But I think maybe you're right. Maybe it's a
well, I like the way that it's being invoked. I mean, you're building an object based on a parameter that's being passed in, right? Like that's really like, and that when if in your brain I just broke object oriented programming for you, good. Like that's the way it should be, because it does break that, and it makes you kind of think in a different dimension where you're actually like, okay, now I have to figure out how to like instantiate these objects without knowing what the actual concrete implementation is. That's called an interface pattern, right? Like, it just, we get into all this CS stuff and it's just so much fun, but I love to see other people doing it because I don't see it a lot. Like I don't honestly see it a lot. And this is where, like, when you see something that should be super complicated simplified this way, it just makes me happy. It just makes me so happy to see this.
Yeah, but thank you, man. And it is a labor of love, but I would say there's probably more love than labor right now, because I just have, like, I put it out there. I was very happy to get it kind of published on Share, just to say, right, that's done now. I can sleep, and just wait for feedback. So if anyone is using it or has used it and gone, you know what, there's like, I want to get it into Git as well, so that you can fork it and do whatever, and you could then track issues in there as well. But other than that, I mean, it's just
so that's why I love that, the community is the community. Jace, where's Jace? Jace, Phil needs a hand getting this into Git and getting this set up so that someone can a public repo. So that's help Phil out.
I think I can. I mean, Jace is a busy guy, man. I know he's got his hands full. I mean, I think it's just the doing it. That's all it is, Mark. I think it's just doing that. And I think it had 13 downloads when I last looked. I'm trying to think how we bring this back to outro without being too.
Oh, I don't know. I'm famous for my abrupt endings, so.
Are you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I am. I don't know. Like, I've only put one video out there, so.
Should we just cut the stream? Just don't say anything. Bye.
Yeah, it's like, and that was it.
Hold on, man. We got it.
Or better yet, you just awkwardly stare into the camera.
There we go. We're it's just us now. There's no code on the screen, I believe.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So.
Outro. Yeah.
Just on the way you organize your script includes, like the way I do it, it's not alphabetically. Although maybe I do without realizing it
consciously. Yeah, somewhere deep down you're doing alphabetically.
And now I've seen that G, like one started with G and it was at the bottom. That's going in. There's an issue. So what I try and do, I put all my public ones at the top.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It makes me sad when I find a public method buried below.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I try and put the public ones at the top. And what I'm doing now, I'm communicating to the people that maybe look at the code. These are the things that... this is how you interact with it. And everything that's private is the functional stuff that makes it work. not the things that you should be calling. So I
This is
then try
what you
and
should be reading. Yeah, look here. I'm not hiding it from you. Like it's
yeah
right here. Yeah, I'm
use
with you.
use this bit, right? And that's where I'll spend time maybe putting some comments into the actual interface. But then I will try and order it so it's in the order that things get called in.
Okay.
But
Okay.
you can only go so far with that, because
Functionally,
then
yeah.
you'll find that one actually gets,
Yeah,
it's an
called from
imperfect.
here and here, and you're like, which one? Where does it go?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so first one kind of wins there, but that's how I try and organise it, and maybe that's where you say, well, do you know what, alphabetical afterwards.
yeah, I could say that. I could say that because I like it. The reason why I like it alphabetically is because I can find it.
Yeah,
Like I don't have to see it, and I don't. And I know where you're headed with the functional because you can see each call and where it, where it goes in the stack, and I can understand that. And very often, I mean, I was a consultant. I have to, I had to drop into a code base that was, laid out the way that you'd like to lay out. So you kind of have to adapt. The way I like to do it is alphabetically, and I've learned from a couple of different people. Like it's so much easier for me to go. I know that it is a private function, so it should have an underscore. So automatically, I can already see it's about midway through the page because it's down into the private functions. I know it starts with an S for save, so I know that it's already about 3/4 of the way down where the private functions are. Like I can almost get to it without knowing the line number, but I mean, I don't think that there's a right or a wrong answer to this, right? I think it's all personal preference, and
it
like you said,
definitely is. Yeah,
it's labor of love. So it's tabs versus spaces all over again. It's not anything anyone's doing right or wrong. It's really a stylistic choice, and I think if you're a good developer, you can come into any environment and you can go, oh, okay, that's the coding standard. Yeah, all right, and just roll with it.
yeah, and you can have a good, open, honest conversation with people about their standards and why they like that sort of preference. Like I've had some really good conversations with people about how they do things and why they do it that way, and just see if my style might actually change. And yeah, certainly, I think the main thing I've learned with coding standards and just best practices, obviously they're a point in time, but it's choose something and stick to it as much as possible. Be consistent. That's the key. Is consistency.
It's fine if it's wrong, but be consistently wrong.
Yeah.
If you've got, we always put a period right there and it's just dumb. Do it all the time, because when you're doing a text search and replace later, and you've got that one space where you were like, well, I'm not going to do it this way. I'm going to do it. Yeah, I'm with you. Oh, do it wrong. If you're going to be consistent, be consistent. If you're going to be wrong, be consistent and wrong.
But what I have found is just some people just don't care about that stuff, and they just never will. So that's their style, and that's fine. It's frustrating sometimes, but fine. So everyone's different, man. Everyone's an individual.
Absolutely.
And maybe we should wrap it there, Mark, because I really enjoyed having you on the show. Thank you so much for your time. Maybe we'll come back and we'll crack open a complex object, or not. We'll just leave it out there for everyone. But
what we're doing is reversing out Flow Designer. I mean, that's really what. If you want to get down to brass tacks, what you're actually trying to do is reverse out how does Flow Designer actually work, and I am incredibly interested in that subject. So let's get it scheduled, or let's do it. Yeah, that's
it would be nice to just point out a flow and just go visualize that flow and its dependencies. That's a nice idea. Maybe we'll spend an hour just doing that without all the intro, without all the chat. We'll still with some chat. But thank you so much, man. Everybody that's tuned in, feedback is welcome on Discord, on the channel. Any ideas? If you want to get involved as well, like I'm up for people jumping on the stream. In fact, I would encourage it. And then don't forget to check out Mark's channel, Phoenix Dev. PHX DEV. Check that out, man. And I'm sure you're going to have lots of interesting guests coming up, Mark. So
I have a feeling you're going to be a guest on the show soon, Phil. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
That's why we need to wrap this one up, right? And we'll just, yeah, man. let's leave it there. Thank you so much once again, and take care, everyone. Stay safe. Thanks for everyone in the chat. All the best,
everybody.
man, and yeah, see you on the next one.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.